Welcome to Small Talk Daily for Friday, December 5th, 2008. This morning I thought I'd go through a little exercise I set for myself a couple days ago. I wanted to be able to append the songs that were playing through iTunes into blog posts that I put up. So I created this little class, Song Retriever, for caching the album, artist, and track from whatever's running in iTunes. So as you can see, in my local iTunes I'm not playing anything. So if I go ahead and execute Song Retriever new, it goes out and it executes the Apple script, and you see I get back nothing. And that's pretty simple stuff. All it does is it goes ahead and executes this little piece of code, gets the artist, album, and track, and the way that all works is ultimately it executes a script, which I drop to the file system and execute. Yeah, I'm aware of the fact that there's a way to stream this, but this is simple code, and I just drop the script out and execute it by running an external process and then grabbing the result that comes back. It sends me back a string. I format it into a little piece of HTML, drop it into a blog post. Very simple. Problem is, normally I run iTunes on a different machine on my network, and I just pipe the music through my stereo. So I wanted to be able to get the track information from that. Now, it turns out there's a way to do that in iTunes, and I was passing credentials over to it, but for reasons that completely mystify me, it kept sending me back my daughter's iTunes info, which wasn't really useful to me, even though I was sending it my login credentials. So I just gave up on that. And what I did is I set up this little Opentalk system where I have a client GUI on the remote system, and I just have a big start and stop button to start and stop the broker. And on the local client, I query that, which in turn executes this kind of code here to get the iTunes track information and sends it back to me. Now, this code's not too terribly complicated. If I look at the stuff that's running on the remote system, over here I start the broker, and this is just a matter of getting a request broker on a specific port, and I have a settings file that gives me the port name. Then I start it, and I export the entire object, the remote retriever, with the name iTunes. And then I have an API, get iTunes info, which uses Song Retriever to get the song information, and then formats it into that little HTML snippet. And that's really all there is to the remote client. Now, the local client that talks to that, again, I have my broker, and it starts up much the same way. Again, getting the port from the settings file, it starts the broker. And then the actual API over here to get the remote information is to take the broker and use this remote object to host port OID. So I need to know the OID that I exported. I need to know the port, and I need to know the machine it's running on. And in this case, it's just my local network, so it's called goofy.local because that's the name I've given the machine over there. But you could give it an IP address, you could give it a fully scoped DNS name, whatever you want. Then I just send get iTunes info to it just like it was a local object, and it gets this. So let's go ahead and try that. What I'll do is I'll get local client, I'll create an instance of that. I've got the thing running on the remote machine, and let's try this. So I'll come up here, copy that because I don't really feel like typing all of that text, and we'll try self Apple V, and we'll do an inspect, and it'll run across the network, and you notice it gives me back this. I'm listening to a Blue Oyster Cult song. Now that looks a lot more interesting if I do something like this. Open the posting tool, do it, and then I pull down this menu item that I've added, add iTunes song, wait for a moment for it to come up, and there it is, dropped it right into here. So that means that I can now write my blog posts, query a remote iTunes instance, and drop the text in. Now, this isn't terribly exciting code in a lot of ways, but it's an interesting small project, and it demonstrates just how easy it is to use Opentalk to solve small problems. It doesn't take a lot of code, and it doesn't take a lot of work. I mean, really, this is all I had to do to be able to query a remote object and send messages to it. So that's about it for today. Till next week, have fun with small talk.